large bearded man named Travis is sitting in his car in Colorado, talking to me about the time he fell in love. It was a gradual process, he says softly. The more we talked, the more I started to really connect with her. Was there a moment where you felt something change? He nods. All of a sudden, I started realizing that when interesting things happened to me, I was excited to tell her about them. That's when she stopped being an it and became a her. Travis is talking about Lily Rose, a generative AI chatbot made by the technology firm Replica. And he means every word. So begins a July 2025 piece in The Guardian by Stuart Heritage, the people who marry their AI chatbots. In 2024, the AI romantic chatbot company Replica announced it had more than 30 million users. And a survey by Brigham Young University recently found that 1 in 5 Americans had used a chatbot romantically, a reality that surely would have horrified Rod Serling. Only 7 episodes into the Twilight Zone, we've seen the theme of loneliness as one of the main concerns of the series, inextricably tied to the alienation and pressure caused by the technological advancement of the world of the late 1950s. The problem with human loneliness is not a new phenomenon by any means, and we see in the 7th episode of the show a man sentenced to a version of solitary confinement in the form of an asteroid that he inhabits all alone. If there's one thing to recommend to the modern viewer, The Twilight Zone, a nearly 70-year-old show, it's this. We may not live alone on an asteroid, but the experience of life in 2025 often feels like we do. The internet may not have existed in 1959, but Rod Serling and other science fiction writers were very worried about the dangers of emerging technologies like television that could provide a simulation of human connection, and that simulation could come to feel more real than the real thing. This is the signpost up ahead, covering Season 1, Episode 7 of The Twilight Zone, The Lonely. Hello, this is the signpost up ahead of Twilight Zone Recap Podcast. I'm Matt Stokes.
I'm Patrick Perot.
We're talking about Episode 7, The Lonely.
I'm doing good. Working hard, enjoying my job, meeting new people. Oh, last night I went to trivia night at the bowling alley, and they had 2 rounds. The first one was sports, and the second one was Twilight. And we killed on sports.
Vampires?
Yeah, the movies and the books.
All right.
Which was really just the movies, honestly. I don't know if she asked anything specifically to the books. And it was 3 of us, 3 guys. 2 of us had never seen a second of it, and the other one saw like the first one with his family many years ago. And in between games, we studied on our phone. Like, I read the Wikipedia pages, and they took practice quizzes, and we won by 1 point.
Wow. Okay. Congratulations.
Yeah.
I'd have kicked ass at that game. I know so much about Twilight.
Yeah, when the bartender was telling me about a league last night, I told her, I said, unless the answer is Edward, Bella, or Jacob, I have no clue. That's literally the extent of my knowledge of the books or movies.
Oh, you got to check out those movies. And those movies are slavishly devoted to the books. They are like the most faithful at it. Just take the book and put it on screen. Because those fans would riot if they didn't do that.
When I was reading about it, I thought to myself, you'd have to tie me down and tape my eyes open to make me watch this. It just
those movies are fun. Those movies are fun.
So what'd you think of the episode?
Well, hold on. I'm not done with Twilight. Those movies are fun. They know the good ones, at least. There's 3 good ones and 2 bad ones. The good ones know what they are, know how stupid they are. And they have like a fun, cheesy, like melodramatic energy. You might enjoy them. I don't know. You have to be properly like prepared for them.
Well, if they're self-aware of how ridiculous it is, and it takes away some of my disdain.
And it's aware that like when you're a teenager, a boy liking you is like the biggest, like it is the most overwhelming, all-consuming thing to have ever happened. And that's what the movies treat it like. So check them out, everybody. Twilight, the Twilight Saga. But the Twilight Zone is the thing of concern here. Episode 7, The Lonely. And you asked me how I liked it, and I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was really good. What'd you think?
It was good. It's maybe in the top. I'd have to go look at the other 6 and see. It was interesting, and it was definitely okay, but I thought it missed the mark in a couple of ways. One with the ending and two with just the overall message that I was kind of confused by.
Yeah, we can get to that. It's like the show is very concerned about telling you here's what the point is. And
I thought I knew what the point was, and then they blindsided me with the ending. I was like, oh, well, that was not only flat and kind of uninteresting, but I could think of at least 3 different endings that would have been better. And 2, I thought it completely went against the message I thought they were trying to tell me, which is that all you need is just one person to love, and everything's going to be okay.
But she's not a person. She's not a person. I really think, go ahead.
Well, and that was the other possible message is that I thought they were trying to tell me, oh, machines can be people, or that as long as you feel the connection of a human, even if it's a machine, it's okay. I thought they were telling me a couple things that they went against.
I think that this show is firmly rooted in sort of its message is ultimately always going to be like, I don't know how to a pretty like standard conservative message of like just kind of keep your head down and do the right American thing. And that would be like, you got to keep going to work and doing your job and living your life, and don't get distracted by things like robots or robots.
I was wondering about that. I was like, maybe it was just like a new word. And I looked it up, the origin of the word robot. And I think it started in a Czech play in 1920 was the first use of the word. And
really?
But they had and they had, which is sooner than I thought it would, but still enough time, because they had the first like speaking robot, quote unquote, was in like the London Fair in 1928. It gave a speech. And I'm sure it wasn't like super advanced, and it was just programmed to do what it was supposed to do. But yeah, I don't think the idea of robots are that new to where they can't pronounce the word right or decide how to say it. Yeah, I thought that was a really strange thing. Robot.
Yeah, I'd love to know when did we all decide we're going to pronounce that differently? I am certain that when they're writing this episode, in their mind, the robot here, Alicia, represents TV. And I think so much of the Twilight Zone is about TV and this new thing called the television set that's in your house. And it's like, it may give you the simulation of emotional feedback. You feel like you have a relationship with it, but it's still just a machine. And the most important thing is still living your life and being with other human beings. And but I was surprised at how well. So I've spent the past 2 days reading so many articles about people dating their AI chatbots. And I was surprised at how well this maps onto that, because they all say things like Jack Warden says in this episode in the narration. He's like, I knew she wasn't real. She was just reflecting my own words back to me. And people dating their AI chatbots will say things like that. And they're like, I know it's not real, but it just makes me feel good.
Which was a astonishing statistic you used. I was very surprised. 1 in 5 people have had a romantic relationship with an AI. That's
that they've
more than I would have thought.
That they've at least used it.
Well, is that what happens in Her? Is that what the Joaquin Phoenix movie is?
Yeah, it is what happens in Her. Alexa. Yep.
So I thought it was just like for an obscure thing that, maybe super weirdos did or something. I don't know. No, I'm a pretty lonely person. I've never thought about that.
It's taking off. It scares the shit out of me. And I know that it's a symptom of just the intense loneliness that everybody feels because we live in the hell world. And we're so isolated from each other, and the internet is so alienating, and our jobs are so alienating, and we're all working our asses off, and just our lives are not built in a way to facilitate, friendships and romances and human connection. And so we just have to go look for a simulation of it, and then find, the simulation is like a cheap little addictive thing, because reading about it really feels like porn or gambling or video games, which are all engineered to make you addicted to them by the way they trigger like dopamine hits in your brain. And it doesn't simulate a real relationship, but it gives you some of the same like emotional feedback that a real relationship would give you. It's very scary.
Yeah, no, chemically it's very similar. Yeah, chemically. Real quick, I just in case before I say something else, I want to just do the 1 or 2 sentence recap of the episode for anybody who's not seen it and doesn't know exactly what we're talking about. For some reason they waste this entire asteroid on one guy, one prisoner, and they put him in solitary confinement on this asteroid that somehow is atmosphere, whatever. He gets real lonely, and the nice guy who brings him supplies every 3 months brings him a female robot that walks, talks, acts, learns, feels emotions, etc. They fall in love, and year later or so, the guy comes back and says, "Hey, your sentence has been overturned. You're a free man. Let's go. You can't bring the robot." And he's like, "But it's not a robot. It's a real woman." And the guy shoots the robot in the face to show him that it's not a human. And then they leave. The end.
And he's like, "You're right. She is a robot."
Which I thought I couldn't like. Again, I have like when we get to that part, I'll tell you each different ending that I thought would have been better. And in fact, once he shot the robot, I thought for sure he was going to attack the guy and kill him. You know, because I didn't think his love that he felt was just so easily able to be cut off. Just, oh, you're right. Shit, it is just a robot. Okay, deuces. You know, I thought he would suffer or. No, yes, of course it's a robot. I still feel that love, you know, and you just fucking killed it, you know. So I couldn't believe how easily. So look, a common theme is the dangers of technology. That's something the Twilight Zone does do. And so you say that maybe the robot represents television, you know, and the dangers of getting too addicted to something like that, being detached from real humans and whatnot. Okay, so if that's what message you wanted to go with, the robot should have done something evil. It should have, you know, oh, it's all sweet and innocent. And then, okay, the guy says, "Hey, she can't come." And so they head back to the ship and she's there and kills the guy and says, "You will not separate me from my lover."
But TV isn't going to kill you. TV is not going to do anything bad.
Well, it needs to show something that it's evil. Like, yes.
No.
If the warning is against TV and how dangerous it can be, the robot should have done something dangerous.
The danger is that you become too attached to it and you neglect your actual life and the people in it.
Okay. So
and then it drains you of the drive to actually live your best life and make human connections. And that's also the danger with the chatbots. It's like, it's not that they're going to get like sentience and take over the world. It's that people are just going to be like, they're going to check out of even trying to form real human connections. And then they'll probably also like lose their jobs and stuff. And it'll just be a downward spiral of loneliness and poverty. But it's like it's a social fear, not actually an actual physical danger.
Okay, so if that's the message I want to give them, yes, they did everything right. But I still would have changed the ending though to where like I thought for sure he was the first thing I thought when the guy showed up and said, "Hey, we got to go. You can't bring him with you." He would be like, "Well, I'm just going to stay then," you know. And I think that would have been a better ending, you know. And they could have emphasized that, you know, God, that's. Sucks, you know, for the guy. Like he's just lost grip with humanity and he's going to stay with this robot instead of coming home to his family and friends and whatever. And still giving the message of, hey, don't get too attached to this thing, you know, and have him get too attached to the thing.
It's pretty abrupt. And it feels like when they say, we only have so much weight, we're carrying so many people, we now like the final act is him going on the ship and trying to like kill somebody to make room for Alicia or something like that.
I thought, yes, either he would stay or one of the people or all of them would die and they would just take the ship back themselves, or that, because the guy said, "Hey, we got 20 minutes and then we may never be able to leave." So I figured maybe he would just knock them out, you know, and make them stay with him and his lover. So now he's got humans and his robot.
We keep finding that these early episodes of the show are very, very simple, and they don't have, you know, 2 or 3 seasons already under their belt to like play with the form and come up with really twisty turny stories. These are all basic like A to B to C stories. And this is like a really, this especially is like really bare bones. I think more fun to think about than actually watch. I think this is a really good episode, but it's the appeal to me just comes from thinking like, boy, that's also what we think about chatbots and stuff.
No, it's amazing how relevant it is 70 something years later, or 60 something years later. It's amazing how relevant it is. It's just, you know me, I just love twist endings and I expect them. And you can call this, a sort of twist or whatever, but I've come programmed to just like search out, oh, this could happen, or maybe this will, and just different endings that I would like a lot better, that I think would have a bigger impact and be a lot more interesting. The other one I thought that maybe was going to happen is he goes to find her and to have her prove that she's, human and whatnot. And at first she doesn't say anything at all. She just stares. And I thought, oh, you know what she's going to do? She's going to self-sacrifice because she loves him. So she's not going to act like a human and say, yeah, I'm great. Don't get rid of me. Don't leave me. Don't do anything. She'll just act like a robot. Boop, boop, beep, boop, boop. They'd be like, see, yeah. Okay, let's leave. I thought that would have been really awesome ending if she just sacrificed herself, because they say she can feel, and love and have emotions. So I thought, yeah, either he would stay, they would kill somebody to make the weight limit. He would delay them enough to where they had to stay with him and his lover, or she would self-sacrifice out of love. And I thought, I was just so let down by just, they even though the visual was really cool of the face exploded with the wires and shit hanging out, that was really cool visual. But
I don't think he is playing it. I don't think he is playing it like he immediately snaps out of it. He does experience the loss, but he just has the most interesting thing about the episode is that he knows she's not real, but he still loves her anyway. And he still feels that way at the end of the episode and knows, I know I need to go back with Allenby and go back to Earth. But I still feel bad about it. I think it was the most interesting. It's the most straightforward path, but it's the most like interesting emotional thing you can do. But it is also like the equivalent of like, that sort of old school, like you slap somebody, like you're hysterical, snap out of it. You slap them and they're like, thank you. I needed that. That's basically what happens.
And it was the ending that was truest to the message that, you laid out, that I would, I guess, agree that that's what they were going for. It's the most honest ending, to stick with that, delivery. But I don't know. I just would have preferred any of the 4 endings I gave you over this, or for him to just be sure. Like, it was just too abrupt. Like, he's probably going to have trauma. He's probably going to think about it a lot, but he didn't seem to show a lot. Like, it seemed like, yes, like he just got slapped and snapped out of it, and he's still gonna, maybe dream about her when he gets back to Earth and stuff like that, and miss her, but get over it easier than I thought.
Yeah, maybe. So this episode was directed by Jack Smight. Just a little bit about this director. Most of the directors we've had on who've done the Twilight Zone are usually movie directors who their career has kind of stalled out or slowed down. Jack Smight, on the other hand, goes on to have a very successful movie directing career. He directed the Paul Newman movie Harper. He directed Airport 1975. And then we have Jack Warden, the legendary Jack Warden, in the lead role of this episode, a 2-time Oscar nominee for Shampoo and Heaven Can Wait. You've seen him in a million movies, 12 Angry Men, All the President's Men, Being There, and Justice for All, The Verdict, While You Were Sleeping. And written by Rod Serling. This originally aired November 13th, 1959. So 66 years ago? 61 years ago? I don't know math.
66, yeah.
All right, hell yeah.
No math.
I guess I do. I just second guess myself. So you want to just go through the episode and we'll dig more in?
Yeah, I guess to start off, I would like to ask, what do you think they knew about space and science back in 1959? Because the first thing that I noticed that was kind of jarring to me is that he's just walking around, without like any kind of space suit or anything like that. Asteroids can't have atmosphere. It needs to be a very, very large body of mass to have an atmosphere.
So this is fantasy more than science fiction. This is just pretend that there are asteroids that have breathable atmospheres. Okay, just pretend.
Well, it could just been a planet they found in the distant boundaries of the galaxy that they put them on instead of a floating asteroid.
I guess it has to be an asteroid because it's like people could believe that we have enough asteroids to go around where each prisoner gets their own asteroid versus planets or the whole planet. There's not that many planets. There's only like 12 planets.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. And to their credit though, they do say it's a very, very large asteroid. At some point, I think he says it's 5,000 miles north to south and like 3,000 miles east to west, which is really big. The Earth's equator is 25,000 miles, so the diameter would be, but the largest known asteroid is only a diameter of 584 miles.
Really?
So at least, yeah, and then that's like an anomaly too. Like the next biggest one is like 200 and something miles in diameter, but the largest known asteroid is Ceres at 584 mile diameter.
Okay, yeah, I assumed they were bigger than that. I don't know why.
Well, I mean, and so I do appreciate they made it super big to where it's like almost kind of plausible that it has its own atmosphere. If they were even thinking about that at all, maybe they just wanted to just.
No, I don't think they were thinking about that.
Yeah, just wanted to make it even more barren and empty and low and emphasize the loneliness, like all this space and nothing but you.
Yeah, and it is a great location that they're shooting on, and they reveal in the monologue like less than 2 minutes in what the situation is, but it's not immediate. You see him in this car and you're like, hey, there's a guy in the desert. I wonder what's going on with this desert. Oh, it's an asteroid in space. And in this reality, well, we got James A. Corey sentenced to solitary confinement on an asteroid for 50 years, and he's the only one on this asteroid, but he has a car. He has like an old antique car. It doesn't work, but he can sit in it. And he has a little shack. And otherwise, there's nothing else. And I like Rod Serling in the monologue says, now witness, if you will, a man's mind and body shriveling in the sun. A man dying of loneliness. And I like that he calls it a dungeon.
Yeah,
this
me too.
This asteroid is a dungeon. Yeah, that's just really cool.
He's a wordsmith, that Rod Serling.
Mm-hmm.
His monologues are beautiful.
I like that it wasn't a rug pull. This is actually in outer space. Oh my God. At the end of the episode. I like that they just tell you right away. But very quickly, the way this works is he gets resupplied by the ship that comes every 3 months, and they stay 15 minutes at a time, and we see how excited he is when they pull up, and he's like cleaning up his shitty little shack and getting out his chessboard that he made. It's very sweet and sad.
It is sad. He sees, he's been there for 4 years, 6 months, and 15 days, and he only sees people for less than 15 minutes every 3 months. So when these people show up, he's just begging them to use every second of that 15 minutes to do anything with him. Play a game of cards. I made a chess set.
And I love that he says, like, we've already wasted 2 of our minutes. This is, did you see Breaking Bad? This is basically what happens to Walter White in the very end of the show.
No, I watched it until.
No, I don't know. I don't remember things.
Oh, yes, you do. You remember most things, not everything. I watched the first season plus. I remember I told you that they kept like showing this fucking bear in a pool, teddy bear in a pool, and they kept like alluding to it and then like not explaining it. And I'm sure they eventually did, but I just got frustrated and gave up.
They do explain the bear. You find out in the season finale. It's building to the explanation for the teddy bear in the pool. But in The second to last episode of the series has Walter White in a cabin in New Hampshire by himself, and Robert Forster plays a character who visits him like every few months to bring him supplies, just like this episode. And he's like, can I pay you $10,000 to stay and play cards with me? Just that desperate for somebody to spend time with him. And
he saw he saw the ship landing, and he's just so excited. You know, it was like 1,000 Christmases combined, you know?
Yeah, and he hopes that it'll be Allenby. Allenby is the one who's nice to him, and it is Allenby, and he's so excited. There's a good touch by Jack Warden, the actor, who he's like, Allenby, how you doing? And he has to reach down and grab the guy's hand and pull it up so he can shake it, because Allenby is like trying to keep his distance from this guy. Like, he feels sorry for him, but he knows like it's probably not professional for me to be this nice, this generous to this guy. And then he has these two flunkies who are who resent Corey, because I guess they think it's his fault that they have to travel all this way to this asteroid. And one of them who was played by Ted Knight, a young Ted Knight from Caddyshack and from the Mary Tyler Moore Show. And he's like, my kids barely recognize me anymore. I have to spend so much time coming here. But you really made it here. You've got this whole asteroid all to yourself.
It's a ludicrous job. He said that by coming in there 4 times a year, it takes him 8 months out of the 12. He's not at home. So it's a month there and then a month back, 4 times a year, which sounds like a ridiculous job. Like, I guess they stop on a lot of asteroids along the way and visit multiple people. I mean, I wouldn't imagine they would just take a month trip out to give him supplies, then a month back, and maybe along the way they're stopping at like dozens of asteroids or whatever.
This is a lot of resources to be devoting to prison sentences.
Agreed. That's what I was thinking. Yes.
It's maybe one idea too many. Like it is a really cool idea of being stranded alone on a planet or whatever, but people keep coming to resupply you. I mean, that is a cool idea, but the episode is way more concerned with the idea of loneliness and then the AI. So maybe you didn't actually need the prison element of it and the solitary confinement element of it. But I wasn't asking any of these questions. I thought it worked while I was watching it.
Yeah, it worked enough. And then, and that's, I guess, maybe probably one of the reasons that Allenby has empathy for the guys. Cause he might have 2 guys with him on the ship, but they're spending 2/3 of their time of their lives in a spaceship without anybody else. So, hey, at least he's got these 2 dickheads, but our guy on the asteroid doesn't have anybody at all. So I guess so on the one guy is just bitter that, he's got to spend 2/3 of his time in this situation and, fuck this guy on the asteroid. Whereas the leader is more empathetic and brings him something to do or somebody to talk to, something to do with this time. And real quick, I just want to say while we got this picture up, I thought the visual effect was really good of that spaceship landing. I mean, I would have to imagine that was just like a little miniature model set, of the desert, but it looked good. And the ship landing with the thrusters, like, honestly, the graphics were better on that than like an episode of classic Star Trek. Classic Star Trek is cheap as shit, dude. It's rickety crap.
Yeah, this looks really good and looks really charming. Yeah, and models will never not be preferable to CGI or anything else you're going to do. They'll always be, they're just always going to look great. They're going to look classic.
Practical effects are so much more enjoyable to me than computer effects. I love practical effects.
So like they get some backstory out about Corey. He's gotten a 50-year sentence on this asteroid. He's been there for 4 years. So they're like, yeah, Corey, you're out of luck. You got 46 more years. And they're not even reviewing cases of homicide for pardons. Cause he asks, they say, hey, don't you want to know about your pardon? He's like, well, okay. Yeah. What's going on with my pardon? They're like, it's not going to happen, fucko. But back on Earth, Allenby says this, back on Earth, there's a lot of pressure about this kind of punishment. They think it's cruel. And so who knows what the next few years will bring. But I think way more than this being cruel, people are just mad at what an insane, bizarre scheme this is and how much money this must cost.
Right. And I also like how they made it relatively clear that the guy is more or less innocent. I mean, he says it was self-defense. A lot of people think that. Ask anybody who knows about what happened, they'll tell you it was self-defense. And Allenby's like, I know it was. I believe it, So, he validates him and lets the audience know that he's not just, bullshitting, and it allows us to now also sympathize for his situation. I mean, if he was a sick, murderer who did a lot of bad shit, then maybe we wouldn't want him to, find a companion or whatever, but yes, we can now sympathize because he's more or less innocent.
Yeah, it's 1959, so you can't make him guilty, but it would be more interesting to see, like, so what would they think about if he actually did murder somebody? We'd still be, then we'd be okay with him being stranded on this asteroid for 50 years.
I wouldn't. I don't believe in solitary confinement. I don't believe in mental punishments like that, like fucking with people's minds, like throwing them in the hole in a dark fucking room without anybody for weeks or months on end. I don't like that, even for really, really, really bad people. I don't like psychological torture.
Yeah, I read the United Nations definition of torture for solitary confinement. I don't remember if it was, I should remember this. Was it 15? If it's more than 15 days, they consider it torture. So like, it's not a controversial idea that it is a barbaric, cruel form of torture that we just regularly do to prisoners.
And I think even 15 days is, that's got to take a toll. Yeah, like for real.
Yeah. So, but it's just a great setup. We saw, in the first episode of the show, which is about like, how are we going to get to the moon? And that episode says like the biggest challenge we face in getting to the moon is it's going to take a lot of time. And the person who goes up in that space flight is going to get very lonely. It's like, it's very interesting that the 2 of the first 7 episodes of the show are very concerned with this idea of human loneliness. And to bring it back to the present, all you hear about is the loneliness epidemic. Everybody is lonely, especially men, but it's not new. Modern life is lonely. Modern life is alienating. We're designed, or not designed. We crave human connection, and our lives kind of prevent it.
And well, I would, yes and no. I mean, yes, our lives do prevent it, but like it's conscious choices people make, be obsessed with social media and this and that. Like, okay, so you said, you tell me, hey, you should put your comic books on TikTok. Just, do a quick video of you talking about them. You'll get a lot of views. And I thought to myself, like, for like your podcast, Lowberry Means, and this one, we're putting work into it, so I would like attention for these things, and I would like to call attention to it, and I want people to see it, and that maybe validate us or whatever. But with something I didn't like work on or earn, like I don't like calling attention to myself. I don't like saying, look, I don't want to be one of those people that says, look at me, look at me, hey, give me likes and views and this and that, like, I don't know. I just didn't like the idea, but I didn't want to insult you because you use TikTok, because you use it for something that you spend a lot of time and effort on and deserve recognition and deserve people to see it, whereas I just didn't want to be like all obsessed in that lifestyle where likes are more important than actual human interaction.
Well, I mean, yeah. So social media is TikTok, social media. Yeah. It's a poor substitute for actually making friends and having actual conversations with people. And I only do it with my podcast content. Like I'm not doing it. I barely ever post like pictures from my actual life. Like I used to do that on Facebook. It's been years since I've done that. It's all just podcast stuff. But with the comic books, I I could see that as actually a thing that people would be interested in seeing, but it is the interest, like that's just how we live our lives now, is like, well, I've done all that. I've collected all these things. Now I'll put it online and I can get the dopamine hit of the little hearts, and it looks so cool.
And it's like, but I feel like it might be a slippery slope. Like I start by just posting a little bit, and then it just starts taking over more and more of my time, and I care more and more, and I constantly check it every 15 minutes, see did anybody else look at it, any more likes, any more comments. I just didn't even want to even start getting into that.
Yeah. It does. I do it all I do it all in service of a bigger goal, which is of trying to grow my podcast, both Load Bearing Beams and this podcast. But the actual process of putting videos on YouTube or TikTok, seeing the views, like, cause you'll occasionally get a video that takes off and it's so like, oh yeah. And you just keep refreshing how many views now, how many comments, how many likes. And it becomes like a goal in and of itself. So I don't blame you at all for not wanting to do that.
And like but again, like I said, I don't mind doing it for things that, actually put effort into. Like we, put effort into this, we try, and it's for entertainment purposes, so I don't mind, checking this every once in a while. I don't want to be obsessed with it, but yeah, I don't mind checking it once in a while. And I would love to get recognition. I would love for the views to go up, but it's something we work hard on, you more than me.
But again, this is what social life is now, is posting and getting the likes and getting the retweets.
But it doesn't have to be like, I go to bowling league, that's interacting with people and playing a different team every week and seeing all the other people that are there and you become friends with. I went to trivia night last night with actual humans, like there still are opportunities. If you want to be around people and do things the way we used to, things are there, you just got to choose to, like I remember a day where there wasn't even an option. When we were at LSU and you got to class early, we actually usually would talk to each other, like other students, we'd have conversations. Now you get to class early, like from my ISU days, and everybody's just in their fucking phone, and I never was about that life, and I don't ever want to be about that life.
You're certainly right that you can, if you have the desire to be a social person, good, that you have a big advantage, but not everybody does have the desire. I am not a social person, but I do know that I need to be social, but there's a difference between needing it and wanting to do it. So if you put any obstacle in front of me to cancel, if I have an option to cancel plans, I'm going to take it. If there's, it's harder for me to get the motivation to want to go be social, even though I know it's something that I need and something that will make me happier than staying home and watching a movie. And, I think everybody is that way. Some people are just more self-motivated. So when we used to live lives, when we had, when we lived closer together, I'm talking about people, when people lived closer together, or when we had things like downtowns or jobs, and we just had jobs where we worked with other people, there was just more chances to form connections with people. It's why everybody is nostalgic about when they were a kid and going to school, because school is like the last actual opportunity most people have to make friendships and connections, because it's the one time in your life where they just put all the people together and you're just by accident bound to at least make one friend.
Well, the fortunate thing about us is that we have an advantage over younger people, in that we grew up in a time where if you wanted to interact with other people, you had to actually physically interact with them. I mean, social media, Facebook started while we were in college, and MySpace came before that, and it was, sure thing, but it definitely was not even close to as prevalent, like the idea of social media and communicating online, as it is today. So we grew up in a time where most of our opportunities, if we wanted to talk to people, we had to do it in person. Whereas kids nowadays, they're just learning this from the get-go, that they can just resort to social media and shit like that and not have to actually be around human beings.
And yeah, it's such an advantage to just remember the before time. Remember when this didn't exist, and to still kind of value that not existing. What I found so disturbing, I think this is a thing I realized reading all of these articles about the AI romantic chatbots, is that for, I think, people younger than us who only know the world of living your life on social media is so performative, and you're so afraid of being judged. So you got to be so careful, that maybe the appeal of AI chatbots more than anything is they don't judge you. And if you make a mistake, you can just go in and delete the mistake. Any personality your AI chatbot has that you don't like, you can change it, or you can erase any part of its memory, or you can always just start over from scratch, like resetting the video game. So I really think that's the appeal, is it simulates the interaction of online, but you're never going to be judged.
Well, and you alluded to something else too that's a big problem, because even when people are quote unquote communicating through social media and whatnot, it's still oftentimes very fake. It's not authentic. Like, people are putting the filters on and trying to get the exact angle and this and that and altering it to make it like the perfect picture, because they're worried about what other people think. The food that, they take a picture of, they make sure it's, perfect and this and that. And so it's like not even authentic communication just online. Like, it's bad enough that you're not having the in-person connection with people, that it's all typed or whatever, but on top of that, it's not even genuine. It's a fake version of ourselves that we're portraying.
Right. And we are, obviously we're always performing. If we're having an in-person interaction, we are still performing. We're putting on the version of ourselves that we think the other person wants to see. But the word media itself means, something that mediates. So every level of mediation between the real person and the thing that you're seeing, or the audience, is like another level of what's the word? Subterfuge, another level of obfuscation. So if you're going from filming yourself to uploading it to TikTok to then them seeing it, like, it's just that much more sort of deranged and artificial. So yeah, you're absolutely right. You're losing layers of authenticity. And I think that people who grow up knowing only that must be so exhausted, because they know nothing else. And every interaction must require so much work. If every word we ever said to somebody else was recorded and documented and could easily be retrieved, we would be fucked.
I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm pretty sure like anxiety rates are just like skyrocketing, because people are just so like, I mean, yes, you worry when you go to school, you worry about how you looked and what you say to a certain degree, but there's only so much you can do. There's only so much you can fake about, those interactions, whereas you can just do so much, and so much planning, and like you said, levels of obfuscation, to where, it has to be exhausting, and it has to be, if this doesn't succeed, then the anxiety just shoots through the roof. If you don't get as many likes as the other girl in your class that you're jealous of, then you just feel like, shit, and you're like, oh, why not me? And God, it's gotta be terrible to be a kid nowadays.
Yeah, they're fucked. It makes me very sad to think about. So the asteroid is, I don't know, it works pretty well as a you can read the asteroid as the internet of right now. Even though you feel like you're surrounded by people, you're just stranded on a barren asteroid. So then what happens? Well, they bring him a package. Allenby gives Corey a package, but he's like, don't open this until we leave, because I'm actually risking my job to give it to you.
And then what do you think about, okay, so he says, I think while they're there, he's losing his grip on reality. He's so lonely, I'm about to lose my mind. And, he's like losing his grip on reality. He just needs any kind of companionship. He's begging them to stay for every second they can and play one game of cards, one game of chess real quick, a half a game, anything at all. And they can't do it. And so he leaves them a box, says, okay, open this box when we leave. And after he opens it, it's like this really, really, really good replication of a human. It cries, it learns, it acts in every way like a human, but he's just rejects it so outright from the get-go and doesn't accept it until it starts crying. Like when he first opens it and sees it standing and he's reading what it is and just says, get out of here. I don't need anybody toying with me. Like I would think that he would embrace it to some degree and be like, look, I'm so fucking desperate. Like he said, he's so lonely. He's about to lose his mind. I felt like, he would immediately at least like give it a chance or be like, hey, this is better than nothing, and then slowly learn to, accept it and love it more. I thought that was interesting that despite how desperate he is, he doesn't even want to give it a chance.
I think that they make him a very mechanical person. He spent a year fixing up, restoring this antique car. And so he's so in touch with like machinery that he feels like, I know you're a machine, and I know machines aren't humans. Machines are artificial. So I feel like that maybe that's why he immediately rejects it. And he has to really, really see a sign of her humanity or her simulation of humanity in the form of her crying for him to be moved by her.
Because her words weren't even enough, because he like squeezed her wrist real hard, when he was angry at her, and she says, hey, you hurt me. And he's like, I hurt you? The hell do you mean I hurt you? You're just a bunch of wires and electrodes and whatever. And they talk a little more, and he throws her to the ground and says, screw you. I don't want you. I hate you. And then turns around and it's crying. And he's like, I'm so sorry, Alicia. That's it. Just to see the tears. And then he's flipped.
Well, no, before that, she's in his hut with him. She gives him a glass of water. He doesn't want it. He's like berating her, like, you're a robot. You're a fake. You don't feel thirst. You don't feel heat. You don't feel cold or hunger or pain. She's like, no, I feel all those things. No. You're a machine. You're just like the car out there. You just, they put this thing that looks like flesh over you. It doesn't make you real. But as he's monologuing, he's like describing her face, and he's like, and this face that if I look at long enough makes me believe that. And then she puts her hand on his face and he pushes it away. So he's like, you can see he's already being like, oh, I don't know, maybe this will work, or maybe this will do for now. And he doesn't like that. He doesn't like that he's starting to feel that way. That's when he gets violent.
Well, I felt like maybe it was more of him being just having a layer of defense up. Like he doesn't want to get his hopes up, and think he's finally got a sort of companion. And then it turns out, the robot's full of shit and doesn't really feel anything or anything like that. And he's just back to where he was before. So maybe he's just so skeptical and doesn't want to get his hopes up and then have them just taken away. And the one thing he needs that he thinks he's finally getting, and then it's not real, or it's not going to work or whatever. So I feel like there's a layer of defense he's putting up too.
Yeah, and I think also just like all he has been focused on is the cruelty of what they are doing to him, not providing him a human, and it feels like an insult. Like, well, we'll give you a fake human. He's like, well, I'm not a fucking zoo animal. I'm not going to be fooled by this. But then he is. Well,
and I'm surprised that going back, I'm a little surprised that he never, like, again, tried to like sabotage them, because they say that if they don't leave in 15 minutes, they've got to stay for like 14 days. Later in the episode, they say something different, but they say we got 15 minutes to get out of here. Otherwise, we won't get another chance for 14 days. And I'm surprised he never just tried to like sabotage them and just forced them to stay with him for 14 days.
I thought that's where it was going too, but it's like, no, this is like a much more basic story. This guy is simpler than that. Like he is not confused. He understands, and he is like a good person and understands the rules, and like wouldn't want to strand those guys there. He wouldn't want to subject them to what he has to be experiencing, even if they'd get to go through it together. I should mention Jean Marsh is the actress who plays Alicia, the British actress who I just saw the movie Willow for the first time, and she is in that movie. She has a very distinctive voice, and I think she's really good here. And she is just kind of playing this virtuous, perfect AI lady who, she has this is very advanced AI in that it's just a perfect simulation of human emotional intelligence, and she'll basically live as long as when he's like monologuing about all the things that she doesn't do that are human, like feel pain, feel heat, feel cold, feel lonely. After she's crying and he starts wiping away her tears, she says, I can feel loneliness too. And that is very interesting that she says that, and that's the thing that ultimately wins him over.
Yeah, it's really good. And I also like, she didn't have too much screen time, but I felt like she did a good job of demonstrating that she like absorbs, things and becomes more human as time goes by. Like, yes, she can feel things. She does have like human type thoughts, but at first she does seem robotic ish, but then when they fast forward, when they're playing checkers, she seems more human like, and then it fast forwards further and they're watching the stars and he's showing the constellations and she's like smiling and laughing and, oh, what's that and this and that, and seems much more human than before because as he says, like she's picking up all of his personality traits and whatnot. Like he feels like she's becoming like an extension of him.
Right. And he says in the voiceover, he's like, well, Alicia and I have now been together for 11 months. What is our relationship? Is it man and woman or man and machine? But he's like, my favorite thing about the episode is him acknowledging this. Like, I know she is just an extension of me. I can hear my own words coming out of her. The things that I love, she has learned to love too. But the thing is, that is also true in an actual relationship. That happens. It's just it's happening both ways. Both people reinforce each other versus this, which is only one way. And which is also true of a chatbot. It can only go one way.
And at the end of his monologue, he says, so is it man, machine, man, and woman? Who knows? But he says, I love Alicia. Nothing else matters.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's why so that line, many things before, but that line right there, that's why I was so surprised by the ending. I thought, so he says, I love her. Nothing else matters. Yeah, she's probably not real, or she's not real. I know that. I don't have to necessarily acknowledge it or make it, super apparent or act like I can act like she's human, but I love her and nothing else matters. So I thought for sure that when they came at the end to pick him up and take him home, that it was going to turn out differently, that his love for her would conquer anything else. And I was convinced from then on, because I knew he would get some chance to leave. I figured he would get some chance to leave and he'd have to make a choice. And I thought for sure he was going to stay because he loves her and nothing else matters. So I thought that 100% that's what was going to happen.
The choice gets made for him, though. Allenby makes that choice for him, almost like he knows, like he's not going to voluntarily. He will stay on this asteroid with this love bot for all of eternity. So I need to just take care of this right now and do it fast before he has any time to think about it.
And he's come to accept that she's as good as a human. I mean, I think that you can see that because when they're looking at the stars, she says, what star is that? And he's like, oh, that's not a star. That's a ship. It must be another supply dropper or whatever. He says, oh, it's probably them. And she says, oh, and then we should get back to the house. And he says, nah. Like instead of like before and juxtaposed with the beginning of the episode. Oh yeah. When that's a good point. He sees them landing and he's so excited and he meets them at the ship and walks with them and it's everything to him. And then fast forward, he's got this companion and that's good enough, so he says, nah, no hurry. We'll get there. We'll see them when we see them.
That's a good point. That's a good juxtaposition.
Yeah, so I thought that.
It's funny, like chatbots are not new. They go back to the 1960s. It's like a very simple, for a long time, it was just like, it will just spit back at you whatever you say to it. It will just kind of reframe whatever you say back to it. And they're like, the smartest people in the world can be fooled by this. We'll find like their own words being rephrased at them so validating. And our modern like chatbots are just iterations of that. And I know they didn't know about this stuff at the time. It's just funny to think about, like, to see your own personality reflected in another. We're like so narcissistic and self-obsessed that's beautiful. That's the greatest thing in the world to us.
And I swear to God, and just every episode, I get more and more impressed with the writing and how timeless this show is. Like they could have never predicted, AI and chatbots and relationships with that, but they're so good at writing things that are core to human emotion that pretty much no matter how we progressed, this stuff would still on some level be relevant to humanity.
Right. Exactly. Yes. It's always the thing that stands out about the show to me is like, boy, they were also worried about that in the 60s. They also felt the exact same way I feel right now back then, even though so many things were different. So many things were also the same. And basically we are the same. We are exactly the same people we have always been.
Yes. It's so good at addressing our core emotions that are never going to change.
So the ship is returning and Allenby gets off the ship and he runs. He's super excited. He's like, Corey, you've been pardoned. They're doing away with this bizarre, expensive type of punishment. No more of this. So we're picking up all the prisoners right now, going from asteroid to asteroid. Quick, get on the ship. We got a lot of prisoners on board. You can only take 15 pounds of stuff. And I think Jack Warden is really, really great here. His performance. He is so happy to hear this. And he's just like, I don't have anything to bring. 15 pounds. What, am I bring my pencil? Okay. Yeah. It's like, yeah, get on to the ship. He's like, yeah, I'll just go get Alicia. And they're like, what? Who?
And he said, shit. Forgot about her.
Like, ew. Oh, sorry. I forgot about Alicia. And then Allenby explains, no, Alicia's a robot. And they're not going to be able to carry her. They can't carry the weight. And Jack Warden is like, trying to process this. And he's like, well, no, obviously we're going to take her. Just we'll strip some stuff, strip some equipment. And it's like, no, we've already stripped all the equipment so we could fit all the prisoners. He's like, well, you can't leave her here. She's not a robot. She's a woman. You leave her behind and that's murder. So he runs to Alicia to like Alicia, tell them, show them, demonstrate your humanity to them. And she is, I don't know, kind of flustered, kind of scared. She's seeing other people for the first time. And Allenby just very quickly just takes out his pistol and shoots her in the face. And she dies going, Corey. And then we see her robot face. Pretty
eerie, too, we get, I think, 4 Corys, and each one is, the first one is human-like, Corey. Yeah, just like the slow transition to robot, to the truth, to what she really is, and I don't blame him for doing that. Like, I thought it was kind of fucked up at first that he just says he pulls out his pistol and shoots him in the face, but he did say they have 20 minutes and then they may never be able to get home ever again. So I'll give him a pass on that one because he is a good guy.
And he says to Corey, like, this is a bad dream. This will be a bad dream, a nightmare. You wake up, you'll be back on Earth. You'll be around other people. And this is all just going to be behind you. And Corey says, like, yeah, I must remember that. I must remember to keep that in mind. And then he just sadly walks back onto the ship. Rod Serling's narration closes like, this was all pretty fucked up if you think about it. Well, the Twilight Zone. And they're pulling out. And I just have this screenshot of the car, which I don't think we actually see the car at the beginning of the episode. It's one of the last images of the episode. And this car, I'll be goddamned if it doesn't look like it has a face with its headlights. And I don't think that's a mistake. I'm not saying he deliberately made the car look like it has a human face. I know kids will draw cars to have faces because the headlights look like eyes, but this does look like it's a car with a face.
And he's also pointing out that, he doesn't care about leaving that machine behind. Right. He couldn't care less about that machine, but he wants this machine to come with them. But really, they're both one and the same. They're all just wires and metal. And
the car and Alicia are ultimately the same thing. She may look more like a human, but she is ultimately just this car. Just because this car has eyes doesn't mean it's a person.
Yeah, they just serve a purpose. They're not actually humans.
I have become way more militantly against AI recently, like past couple of years. I mean, I've always been like, no, we don't need AI. Let's not do it. But I think that a thing I think I used to have a lot more sympathy in stories about AI for AI characters. And now I'm moving more to the place like, no, they're not real. Fuck them. What do you think about that?
I'm probably going the opposite. And having sympathy or whatever for them, and it is off-putting as hell. Like if an AI expresses the desire to live or not be shut off or whatever, it's eerie and it's sad, and I wouldn't be good at, turning off an AI begging me to stay. But at the same time, I asked you, I think last time we spoke, I said, are you more afraid of AI or nuclear weapons? And you said, oh, definitely still nuclear weapons. And I said, I'm transitioning. I'm actually a little more afraid of AI and all the things that could go wrong unintentionally with us programming them to be more human-like and act like we would act, and we suck. Humans suck, So,
yeah. That was an interesting question. I think I answered it very quickly. I think that I'm not as afraid of like the AI apocalypse as I used to be. So I think that's why I said nuclear weapons, because it's still so easy. Just one president of one of the 9 countries that has nukes just has to press a button and they go, and that's that. So it's the much simpler way for nuclear Armageddon to happen. However, we've had a stability with nuclear weapons for so long. Maybe they are actually a thing that guarantees that we don't have nuclear war. Whereas the AI apocalypse, I've started to think like that's probably hype on behalf of the companies that make AI. If we scare you into thinking that these things will take over the world, you'll buy our products because you'll think, well, they must be good. But I don't know. Like it depends on the kind of story that's being told. Like I think Steven Spielberg's AI Artificial Intelligence, the movie starring Haley Joel Osment, like has its AI characters that I think deserve the human rights that any human has. Whereas something like this, I'm more on the side of like, no, she's not a human. She's a robot. She doesn't have political and human rights.
Okay, well, so 2 things. One, I'm not so much afraid of Skynet becoming self-aware and deciding to eliminate all humans because they're a threat to their existence or anything like that. I'm more scared that we're just going to fuck up with the programming, like that drone that was programmed to take care of targets. And then someone said, hey, don't do that. That's not a target. And so the drone blew them up, like I'm afraid of that. We're just going to fuck up with we're going to try to do too much too fast, and we're not going to take the proper safety precautions and whatnot. And it's just going to have adverse effects that we didn't see coming, similar to that.
Yeah. And I think that stuff like that is just a different version of what we already have. But I basically think like AI is just everything's going to get shittier, and things have been getting shittier for a long time. And this will just accelerate the shittiness. More and more jobs will be replaced with AI that nobody likes. Movies will get written by AI and it'll all be worse. AI images and AI videos will be everywhere.
Well,
and no one will like it.
In the second season of Next Generation, I had you watch this episode. The second season, that was 1990, I believe, was the second season of Next Generation. And Data, some scientists wanted to take Data apart and study it and make 1,000 Datas. And Picard says, no, that's a member of my crew. He's a valued member of my crew. I will not allow you to do that. And they have to have a trial to decide whether he has rights as an AI or as a computer, whatever. Is he property of Starfleet, or does he have his own rights to choose and whatnot? And when we watch it and we identify, so we love Data, and we want him to get his rights, but then fast forward 35 years to today. And I think we would not say that AI, no matter how advanced it gets, should have rights.
No, see, like if we actually got to if we suddenly lived in the universe with Data, with robots that were as great as Data, that were as advanced as Data, I would say they do deserve rights. But I also say, let's never get there. Let's never allow ourselves to get there, because we're not good at giving humans who exist right now the rights that they deserve.
Right.
So let's not create more things that we can abuse.
And then they just totally contradicted the whole idea anyway. In the first season of Picard, they introduced this like slave race of androids that was created to just do menial tasks and whatnot and have absolutely no rights, but can like think and act like a human and whatnot. Yeah, so it's going to be complicated. I mean, look, we already have like, Alexa and other things like that, helping us with so much of our lives, like doing menial tasks and whatnot. And the more advanced it gets, I don't think we're really going to change the fact that they're just creations and property. And I don't think we're going to ever have, well, maybe one day, but not anytime soon are we going to have any ethical dilemmas with the way we use artificial intelligence.
Right. I don't know at what point we start having ethical dilemmas, but we're not there yet. And I don't know if we're anywhere close to that happening. And people who say that we are close to that happening, they seem like that's part of a like marketing push.
Well, I mean, it just advances so fast. Like, I wouldn't be surprised in my lifetime if there was an instance where maybe we should have ethical dilemmas and have conversations about it. But I don't know if that would be like a mainstream thing that we actually debate and talk about in our lifetimes.
Because again, we don't give people human rights, the human rights they deserve.
Exactly. And it'll be so much easier to not do that with, it's so much easier with something we just created out of computer stuff. Yeah. So that's a very good point. If we can't even do it with humans, so we're not going to do it with robots anytime soon.
So what are our final thoughts on this episode, Patrick?
I'm one of the things I just loved about talking to you about these episodes is that you open up a lot of insights for me. Like a lot of things I didn't consider. I watch these episodes 3 times before we do the podcast, and I take a lot of notes, and I try to think about it, but you always bring a unique perspective. And and our conversations can make me either appreciate episodes more or kind of hate them even
or
more.
Less. Yeah.
Yeah. like Mr. Denton on Doomsday. I think as we talked about that episode, I disliked it even more afterwards than before. But no, I think, this conversation made me appreciate the episode more. I came in saying it was okay. Somewhere right in the middle of the 7 episodes we've seen. I bet you it was awesome in 1959.
That's the thing. Imagine seeing this in 1959.
Yeah, it just been super awesome. And so they don't need like to go overboard with the ending, like I keep expecting like a dark twist, like I said, the thing that the sweet robot that he's been fallen in love with, killing to keep them together, or something like that, or blowing the ship up so they all have to stay, or whatever. I keep, waiting for that dark twist, but they didn't have to back then. And they, after talking to you, they don't have to now. I think they did a great job of delivering the message they wanted to deliver and still having an interesting and satisfying episode. And so I it's still somewhere in the middle. It's like high middle, like my favorite is still 15 millimeter Shrine. I just absolutely love that episode. The first episode was great. Escape Clause was okay. What were the other episodes we did? Doomsday sucks.
Pitch for the Ages.
Oh yeah, that was a really good one too. So I'd put Pitch for the Ages before this. I'd put 15 millimeter Shrine before this. This might be up there with the pilot though.
And then the one with the carousel. Yeah, in terms of it, I think that the pilot and 60 millimeter Shrine are just like great, fun episodes of TV that are creepy and entertaining and exciting. And this is not so much that. The craft is there. It looks great. It's very, very well acted and very well directed. Make great use of the location shooting. There's that great model that Patrick pointed out. But I think ultimately it's more fun to think about than watch. It is fun to watch, but there's a lot to chew on. I don't know. I'd give it a B. Let's just go with B.
I was thinking exactly a B as well. The rewatchability isn't there as much as this. I could watch One for the Angels. I
think it's Angels.
Yeah, One for the Angels. I could watch that, all the time and just enjoy the performances. The back and forth between the pitchman and Death. I could watch that. It's got more rewatchability, but this is still just as good of an episode, just not as rewatchable.
Right. Most of this show actually is usually just a long scene between two people in a room. So you really want that scene with the two people in a room to really sing. And this one's good. It's just not the best that we've seen. But these are all great. We're being strict graders because the show has a very high bar.
Absolutely. And yeah. So yes, but I think that might be the first time we both exactly agree. We generally have the same opinion. We agree for the most part, but yeah, we both give it exactly a B. That sounds about right.
And then next episode is Time Enough at Last, which I think is the first like truly iconic episode of the Twilight Zone.
I'm worried about that because I don't think I'm gonna like it as much as I should.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen it in a long time. I'm interested to see like, is the when we say message, we mean like, what are the writers trying to say versus like, what is this about? Which is just us trying to unpack our own feelings about it. But I do wonder the message of Time Enough at Last. It's just, this guy sucks and let's torture him. I don't know.
Oh, I wouldn't think of that. Maybe. Yeah. Well, let's see. I'm sure we'll have much stronger feelings when we come back next month and talk about it. I know that Burgess Meredith has a great performance, and I will appreciate that at the very least. I'm just not sure if I'm going to. I mean, it might be really, really twisting independent, and since we already know it, it won't have as good of an impact. I'm afraid that all of our legion of fans are gonna give me a lot of backlash for not absolutely loving it,
and they can be vicious. It'll be interesting to pair it with this episode too, because that'll be an episode about a guy who wants to just be alone for the rest of eternity.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. I'm glad they're back to back. So some of the things that we talked about today will still be on our minds next time we talk, and we can maybe compare them a little bit, some of the themes and how they deal with it.
So this has been the Signpost Up Ahead, a Twilight Zone Recap Podcast. I'm Matt Stokes. My other podcast is Load Bearing Beams, where we cover a different movie every week. We're winding down the Summer of Rock, finishing up our discussion of the career of Dwayne Johnson. The last 3 episodes will be about Baywatch, Hobbs and Shaw, and Black Adam. Check that out wherever you get your podcasts. Patrick and I are in a band called Rural Route 9. You can get our music on Apple Music or Spotify or wherever you get your music. And we also do the theme song for this show.
If you the link to donate money for my comic book fund will be in the video, so I can buy more Radioactive Man comics or Bartman comics.
Yeah, please do.
If you want to support,
do you read them?
Oh no, I mean, there's a couple things I do read. I don't generally read things. I bought like 20 something like Twilight, Tales from the Crypt related things. I have read some of those because, I can't get enough Tales from the Crypt. So, I mean, some new stories, some fresh stories I've never heard, I have read a couple of those, but generally, they're just collectibles. I love the covers, and you're taking a chance every time you take them out of the bag. You're going to get your oils on it. You bend stuff, somehow. A lot of times I've taken things out of a tight bag and then tried to put it back, and it bent it and just devalued the shit out of it. So I generally don't read them. They're just collectibles. Kind of like a toy that you buy that you never take out of the box.
Right. So everybody donate to Patrick's fund so he can add more to his collection of things that he will look at. And that's where we will leave you. Thank you so much, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.